Hello and welcome to Focus Asia from our studios in Hong Kong. I'm Shakuntala Santharan. We begin tonight in Malaysia, where polygamy, the right of a man to take more than one wife, is still legal. Polygamy has been practiced throughout the centuries, around the world and in different cultures. More recently, though, laws have either banned the practice or limited the number of wives a man could take. But now in Malaysia, women's rights groups have launched a campaign to promote monogamy over polygamy. They say because men are abusing the practice and misinterpreting the Prophet's words. Susan Yu has the story.
Saeed is a successful businessman, a devoted husband, and a father. He's also a polygamist.
I think nobody planned to have more than one wife. Because when you marry the first time, you always think that, till death do us part.
After 13 years of marriage and fathering 4 children, he decided to take another wife, with whom he had another 4 offspring. Saeed says he, his 2 wives, and 8 children are all one big happy family.
I travel with my first wife and second wife together with all the children. That's the reason why I have, in my house, I have a big van.
Saeed's second wife, Baizura, admits it isn't easy taking a back seat in the marriage.
How did you feel when you were asked to be a second wife?
I'm not happy because I'm a second wife. If only I'm the first one, I am very happy.
Saeed insists he treats both spouses and his children fairly, equally spending time and money on all of them. And under Sharia family law, those are the underlying conditions Muslims must promise to meet before being permitted to marry again.
You have to be fair. You have to be fair to your first wife, you have to be fair to all your children, to your second wife, and you must always be, tell the truth to them.
But apparently that isn't happening often enough.
There is sufficient law and sufficient legislations to safeguard your rights. But it is actually depends to the husbands whether they're going to practice or not.
Wan Nazri Wan Hassan is a Sharia lawyer who started the first ever Second Wives Club after realizing many of his clients were unaware of their rights in a polygamous marriage.
I think the most challenging aspect is to make sure that they will receive equitable treatment and the fairness from the husbands. And the other part, I think, is how to tackle the prejudicial aspects in respect of their status from the community at large.
People are prejudiced about second wife. They look down on second wife. They say that we are after their husbands.
The practice of polygamy has now come under scrutiny, which some believe is long overdue.
The Polygamy Association has inadvertently sparked the outrage of Muslim women and non-Muslim women's groups in Malaysia. They've now formed a coalition to campaign against the practice, which they say does not promote good family values.
More than a dozen women's groups have band together to launch a national roadshow to promote monogamy.
We are not calling it an anti-polygamy campaign. I think that is the misunderstanding. We are giving the roadshow to promote the understanding that monogamy is actually the ideal state of marriage in Islam and that polygamy is only allowed in exceptional circumstances.
Nick Nuriani is an expert on Sharia family law. She's also a prominent member of the Sisters of Islam group, which is devoted to protecting Muslim women's legal rights.
In the Quran, it does not say polygamy is allowed for sexual freedom of men. The polygamy that is in the Quran is mentioned in connection with the welfare of women and children. That is why we feel that it has been grossly abused.
A woman who opposes her husband's application to wed again often faces insurmountable hurdles in an Islamic court.
Whether the woman is in a monogamous or polygamous marriage, she has to prove cruelty or neglect, and the burden of proof is often difficult to discharge.
Another issue is the unstandardized Islamic laws that exist in each of Malaysia's 13 states. Some Islamic courts allow for easy application and approval for polygamous marriages, while others don't.
If the husband said that, because I love her. No, it's not easy. It's not because of love, the court will give the permission to the husband. No, definitely no. It to ensure that the first wife, whether you fulfill your responsibility to the first wife or not.
But most importantly, Muslims must get written approval from their wife or wives before remarrying. For a number of Muslims, the process is too bureaucratic. This has led to an increase in Muslims traveling outside their home states to enter into multiple marriages quickly, easily, and for some, secretly. It's a trend that has alarmed Islamic clerics and rights groups.
Has this tradition been perverted for the men under Islam?
We fear that it has been abused, that the men no longer understand the purpose of the type of polygamy which is permitted in Islam, that it is for the protection of women and children, not for the men's advantage.
In the Quran, this protection was in the context of men allowed to marry widows who lost their husband during battles in ancient times by supporting them and their children. Today, the once noble justification for polygamy has morphed into a 21st century social malaise that has divided families and communities in and outside of Malaysia. In neighboring Singapore, where polygamy is also restricted by law, a growing number of men are converting to Islam and setting sail overseas to start families.
The practice of polygamy has gone beyond religious boundaries. Muslims and non-Muslims alike are now angry that a number of Singaporean men are traveling to nearby Indonesian islands to take on second wives.
Batam has become a land of opportunities for Singaporeans who travel here for business, pleasure, and second wives.
Ya emang gak enak juga sih, ya karena keadaannya gimana.
I don't really like it, but it's a situation I have to accept. I often miss him and want to be close to him, but what can I do? I'm here in Indonesia and he lives in Singapore.
The 23-year-old says she has few complaints, considering her difficult financial situation.
He provides for the family and the children. It's not like I married a Singaporean and then he abandons me. I can't have that because I'm poor.
Wati is not alone, and many fear the practice of polygamy is spiraling out of control in and outside of the Muslim community.
If you just going to somewhere, Thailand or Batam, to go for another wife, that is wrong. That is not Muslim. That is not Muslim. I do not agree to that. I think most men will dislike what I'm saying now, but I think that is definitely wrong.
Is the practice of polygamy completely out of date?
I think the present practice of polygamy is not in the spirit of Islam. What happens nowadays, usually the men marry younger and younger wives. That's not what the Prophet did.
Because of the controversy, Kuala Lumpur is trying to standardize Islamic family laws in all of its states. But what has complicated the situation further are the calls now by non-Muslims who say they should also have the legal right to take second wives. The government banned polygamy for non-Muslims in 1982. The federal government now finds itself in an unenviable position. How do you maintain ethnic, social, and religious harmony when polygamy is interpreted today as a sacred male right guaranteed by Islam, and measures to stem the abuse of the practice are branded by Muslim fundamentalist groups as unjust and, most importantly, un-Islamic?